from the Hunt360 podcast. I'm E3 King. We're here with Hunt360 live at the Salt Lake City Western Hunting Expo. I'm here with founder of Hunt360, Jeremy Williams, Luke Haney, and our special guest, Evan Williams from Hoyt Archery. Evan, it's great to have you. How you doing this morning?
Good, boys. A little early for me on a Sunday right now, but we're here ready to do this. Was it day 4 already? So, yep.
Almost made it.
Almost
it's
done.
going by, that's for sure.
And I'll tell you what, the more you do, they just fly. Like, you look at it as a 4-day show, next thing you know, you're done tearing down and on to the next one.
Yeah, it goes by fairly quick, and but I like these early morning because it's not crowded and there's not a lot of background noise.
A little more laid back. You can kind of get down, get ready for the day, and this is that downtime of the day where you can kind of get out, walk around, see what else is around. Where most of the time during the day you're not getting out of your booth or out of your podcast location. So. Yep.
Especially this show. This show is so crowded in this area. I mean, it's nuts. And the family that come here is...
Yeah, and it keeps growing every year. The first time I came was 2013, and Thursday, Friday, pretty slow, pretty dead. Saturday and Sunday was just packed, and it's just gotten bigger. They've had to open up extra exhibit halls and expand to more vendors. Yeah. So...
Well, Evan, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you come from and a little background just about you personally a little bit.
Yep. So I'm actually from south central Nebraska, northwest Kansas. Grew up in a small agricultural community out there. Went to school in Kansas City, Missouri, got my degree, and spent some time actually at Ole Miss working towards a graduate program where I actually got accepted into the resident athlete program at the Olympic Training Center, and that got me out west into Colorado. When I got out there, needed something to do, so with a background in hiking and camping through the Boy Scouts and hunting, got in at local Sportsman's Warehouse, was doing some footwear sales, some archery sales, and the local pro shop had actually approached me about coming on board with them and helping them in the shop. So as a part-time gig, I was helping out the local archery shop and ended up making that a full-time thing when I retired from athletics. And about 10 years into that, a position opened up at Hoyt in marketing, so I went ahead and took that and moved the family out here and have been here almost 5 years now.
Nice. Quite a journey you have.
It's been an interesting one for sure.
So what kind of athletes, what'd you do for athletics?
So I was a competitive rifle shooter.
Really?
So it was standing 10-meter air rifle and then all the small bore, so prone and 3 position competitions.
That's cool. Did you try out for the Olympics and that type of
stuff?
I did.
I tried out for 3 different teams. Best I did was 8th, and they take the top 2. So
that's really cool.
It's interesting. Not a lot of people know about it. They hear shooting, they either think shotgun or they think the biathlon.
Yeah.
So, but you got different rifle events, different pistol events, men's, women's, shotgun. You've got pistol involved with a pentathlon. You got the biathlon and the winter games. So,
do you still do it?
I still do it from time to time, not near the competitive level. They've changed their core essentially. It used to be 60 shots in air gun, 60 shots prone, and then you had 3 position, 40 shots each on an integer scoring. So you shoot a 9, doesn't matter how deep, a 9 is a 9. If you shoot an 8, it's an 8, 10's a 10. And they've went to decimal scoring, which is how we used to do our finals. So you'd shoot your qualifications on integer scoring, and then the top 8 would move on to a finals, which is now decimal. So if you shoot a 10.9, you get a 10.9 for your actual score. So you could gain a whole point on someone if they shoot a 9.9 and you shoot a 10.9. Now they've went everything to decimal scoring for the entire event. So it's changed the format a little bit. Some new world records going up, and it's a little bit of a different game.
Gotcha.
So,
well, tell us a little bit about Hoyt, about your experience at Hoyt. I know you love your job, and
yep.
I know you were telling us earlier beforehand about all the traveling you do and all the events you put up and take down. I mean, what's your favorite part about working for Hoyt? What's your
I really love the people I get to work for. Again, title of pro staff manager, so I work with all of our athletes, foreign and domestic, hunting, target, compound, and recurve. That's pretty much where the stress level's at too, right? Guy needs a set of limbs for an event that's coming up, trying to get product through and rush to them to make sure that our athletes have the equipment they need. But overall, like our athletes on all those sides are just incredible people to work for and work with, and getting to see them and catch up at shows and events where you follow them all year long and see what hunts they're doing or see what events they're competing at and where they're successful, and then getting to catch up once or twice a year with them and sharing those stories and those events that they were able to go through with our equipment.
Nice.
So
If someone's wanting to become part of the pro staff, how does that process begin?
So it starts in a couple different ways, depending on where they're at from a reach standpoint. We have programs in place at what I call our grassroots level, where they can be staff sponsored through a shop or through one of our sales reps, and then move up to national or international pro staff through us directly at the manufacturer's level.
Okay.
That's really truly based on what their reach is and what their engagement is like. You know, if a guy is not doing a whole lot outside of his state, if I get a resume from him, I'm really going to push for checking with your local shop or checking with your local area sales rep, because of your sphere of influence being so centrally located. You'll be a greater benefit to us as a company and to your local or area sales, staying in that sphere of influence.
Absolutely.
As your sphere grows, that's where you start getting more on my radar, and you're not just hitting your state, but now you're seeing some Western stuff or some Eastern stuff, and you've got that variance and that balance going on with your social media, with your personality, with who you're connecting with.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So,
I didn't-
yeah, first step is check with your shop. As you kind of outgrow that reach and expand your territory, kind of look towards that sales rep area, because they don't just have a state. A lot of them have multiple states or parts of multiple states, and then it grows outside of there. Then it's contacting me, and we kind of go over social media, look at what you're doing, look at the quality of content you're producing and the message that you're delivering with that.
Nice.
So,
Absolutely.
It's nice. I know. I see your stuff all over social media.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not. Straight up, I'm not a big bow hunter because I just don't have the time. I'm working so much.
Yep.
But
yep, understandable.
But I do see it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your marketing is top notch.
Yep, we appreciate that. Appreciate hearing it. So
Tell us a little bit about what you brought us here to look at.
Yeah, so for 2020, we have our Alpha Series lines. And what we did this year is we kind of wanted to reapproach how we design and market our products. We've always been very inclusive, very customizable, where our draw lengths, our bow options reach a very large range of archers versus, okay, we're going to hit the guys that are in this small draw length range and we're going to design them for this, and then everybody who's outside of that is just going to have to live with our options. So all of our bows come in multiple cams. So we have a 2-cam and a 3-cam in a family. So both these have our ZTR, which is the cam family, and then we have a 2-cam and a 3-cam base. Each one of those is going to have a different draw length range to cover a variance of archers. The 2-cam is going to be a smaller in overall size, so that the archers on the lower end of that are still getting the speed, they're still getting the energy, they're still getting the production and all the benefits of having a shorter draw, because we're going to shrink down that cam and have them use the same percentage as someone who's got a longer draw length and a larger size cam. So we're going to maintain speed, we're going to maintain efficiency, and we're going to maintain all the energy that we can for those shorter draw lengths. The other benefit is, and we also maintain our let off. So a lot of archers, as they go down in draw length, typically that's going to be shorter males or females. Holding can also be an issue with a lot of companies that have one cam that cover a wide range, let's say 25.5 to 31 inches. As you change that module and go lower in draw length, you lose let off, which means you have a higher holding weight.
Right.
Because those companies are going to advertise it 80 plus
Right.
at 29 inches. So as soon as you start coming off that 29 peak, you start increasing your actual holding weight
Yep.
incrementally, right? So if I'm coming off that 4 inches, well, I'm not getting an 80% if that's what I'm advertising anymore. I might only be getting 60.
Right.
Well, if I'm pulling 70 pounds, that's a lot of weight. I'm holding almost half of that. So when I get to full draw, I'm looking at holding potentially 24 to 26 pounds on the back wall versus 14. Well, if I'm got my wife in a bow like that, I don't want her holding almost half of her draw weight. She physically doesn't have the strength to do that, especially if I have that whitetail holding up behind a tree and I need him to take 2 more steps. Or that bull elk pausing behind a juniper and I need 3 more steps for his head to clear, let alone his chest and his vitals. So as we neck down those cams, we maintain those numbers for the entire range, short draw lengths and longer. We have 3 different series. The ones we have here are the alphas. We also have the ultra and a turbo. Turbos are going to be for the speed guys. The guys that want that 350 plus, that's going to be the bow for you. It's high energy. It's a little bit lower let off at 75%. It's going to give you the most energy and the efficiency for speed with that cam design. It's a 31-inch axle to axle, 6-inch brace height. And again, 350 on both the aluminum, which is the Helix Turbo, and the carbon, which is the RX4 Turbo. The Ultra Series is a 34-inch axle to axle, longer axle to axle, a little bit more stability, especially when you have a longer draw length or you're shooting longer distances. And the same cams that are on these 2 bows transfer over to those with different string specs. And instead of going 25.5 to 30 inches, we can now hit with that same cam on a longer axle to axle. We can get out to 32. So the guy that has that longer draw length, you have a bow that is built and designed to be the most efficient and produce the most speed and energy that we can at your draw length. On the Axius and on the Carbon RX4 in the Alpha series, the big thing that we've heard and been beat up on in the past is we need a whitetail bow. We need a whitetail bow. Well, what do you want out of a whitetail bow? So we talked to all of our pro staffs. We went to a couple of our key shops in those main whitetail markets. Hey, talk to your consumers, see what they want out of a whitetail bow. That's what we hear the most about. They wanted shorter axle to axle. So we produced a 29.5-inch axle to axle overall length. It's the shortest flagship bow we've ever produced. They wanted it smoother. So we redesigned the XTR cam to have a smoother draw cycle by changing our production and energy during that draw force curve. So we store more energy on the back, but we save it during the draw cycle to get a smoother overall draw so it's more comfortable. So if you need to draw on that animal when they're looking at you, you can still get it done without a real hard, harsh breakover, and that animal isn't going to bolt.
Gotcha.
They wanted speed. We're talking 342 feet per second.
On both of these?
On both of them.
Slinging.
Yep. The only difference between the Axius and the RX4 is the material of the riser. So obviously with the carbon riser, it's not going to transfer heat and cold to your hand. Its thermogenic properties are much more conducive to that by almost 250%.
Wow.
So when you're sitting those late stand sits, whether you're in the Midwest or you're doing a late season hunt here on the front or down in Georgia where those mornings, those temperatures drop into the upper 20s, low 30s, you got frost going, you grab a hold of that carbon bow, your hand isn't going to get zapped if you're not wearing a glove.
Right.
Okay.
That's killer.
The aluminum is going to be a little bit cheaper for us to manufacture because of cost of material. And then because of our limited options, once we put that into a CNC machine and start cutting, is we don't have the added plate underneath. So we have our exact custom grip. So it's a thinner profile through the throat, so you have less contact, therefore reduction in torque, but you still have the ergonomic cut around your hands, so when your hand is relaxed and in position, you still maintain a mental connection because you have some hand contact. With the RX4, we have our custom tune grip. So it's a little bit thicker through the throat because if you remove that grip, we have a custom plate under there that will allow us to shift that grip 50 thousandths left or right for the archer as an additional tuning benefit. So with my grip and how I get into a bow, I tend to throw a left tear. Well, what I can do before I have to go to a yoke tune or before I move my rest in and lose broadhead clearance, I can actually take that grip off and I can shift my grip in, which takes me from, center 50 thousandths in, and I can reduce my tear by over half an inch just by shifting that grip 50 thousandths. And I haven't lost any broadhead clearance if I want to shoot a fixed blade, and I haven't had to start yoke tuning yet. So
Y'all thought about it all, huh?
love
we
that.
really did. It was, we want options. We've got options.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
a big
So-
option there.
Yep. And again, a lot of guys, if they're not playing with it themselves, they won't see that. But what we've done with that is we've given you 3 different ways to tune that bow: grip, yoke, rest.
It's nice. I mean, even you were talking about the temperature. I mean, just even right here, I can feel the difference in
I wouldn't even
temperature
thought that, but it's
of
genius.
this.
Yeah, and we're talking 67, 68 degrees in the room, and it's already a actual felt difference between the aluminum and the carbon.
Yeah, there is. I mean,
So-
that's a feature I would have never really
Same.
paid attention to. But,
Yep.
but it definitely makes a lot of sense
Yep. And now you talk, go do that on, November 14th.
when it's 2 degrees outside.
Yeah. So, and I'm just loading the truck. I'm going to take it from the house to the truck. I don't need to put my gloves on because I'm going to get in a heated truck. You'll feel it.
Yeah.
So, absolutely you will.
What all patterns do these bows come in?
So, in the Sitka line, we have the EV2, which is the elevated whitetail pattern.
Yep.
And then we have the new Subalpine they released a couple years ago. We have the Kuiu Verde 2.0, Realtree Edge. And then this year, we actually introduced the Under Armour Ridge Reaper Forest. So it's their green pattern.
Gotcha.
So those are the main camo options that we have. We also have a Storm, which is a gray powder coat, little texture, so it really helps with those shadow and sun principles. So when you get in dark timber, get up in a tree, depending on how the light or the sun hits that riser, it actually creates a little bit of movement to it.
So there's
and then we have the
texture-
blackout.
so it's a texture.
So on the riser itself, it's almost like a gritty sandpaper feel.
Okay.
So, yep.
Oh, and it comes on both the carbon and the
Carbon and the aluminum both. Yep.
all those are great patterns.
So and you've got to have the variance. Whether your guy's going to be hunting out west, if they're going to be hunting back east, or if they're going overseas. So want to have plenty of options for them.
So are these just dampeners?
Yep. So these are called our shock pods. So each one has 4 pods on both sides of the bow, and then inside we actually have a little bulleted weight that adds some vibration dampening characters to it. So just a small little bearing basically in there that on the shot, as that noise vibration shock travels up, it's actually going to dissipate and be completely diminished because of the movement that is allowed here just by adding that little weight into each one of those pods. So, and we've played around with different positions. We've had it on the backside. We didn't used to have them here. We actually had them built into the riser on the aluminums a number of years ago. And then as our technology and our ability to test hand shock, to test vibration, to test noise, as we've gotten better equipment for all of our testing protocols, we've changed the location of those for the best effect. So
if somebody wanted to buy a Hoyt bow and they really weren't sure what they wanted, if they wanted turbo, if they wanted speed, or kind of what they were after, what would you recommend them do to go about that?
Yep. So if you know your local Hoyt Pro Shop, go into it, test them, shoot the turbo, shoot the alpha, shoot the ultra, and don't just shoot the carbon and don't just shoot the aluminum. Shoot them both side by side. Get a feel for both of them and really decide, okay, do I like that longer string angle? Do I like the shorter? Am I a speed guy? That's the unique thing about these series is it allows you to define yourself as an archer and as a bow hunter. I have always been an ultra fan, hunting out west and only having one bow. If I'm going to use that for indoor target shooting, outdoor target shooting, 3D, field, and hunting, I want one bow that's going to be versatile and do it all for me. And that's where that ultra series, that 34-35 came into play. The more I got into target, the more I decided, okay, I need a dedicated target bow, and that's where our target line in the Invictas come in. And then on my hunting bow, I can really go and decide, okay, am I going to focus on my western hunts and my backpacking stuff, or did I just pull a really awesome whitetail season and I get Kansas and Iowa and I can hunt Nebraska and maybe drop into Oklahoma? I need to focus on those tags, and I can use that same bow and build it around a western rig, but those are my focus on my tags. If a guy back east knows he wants to go out elk hunting, he's been putting in for points, he's not coming out and traveling and hitting any over-the-counter stuff because of cost, but he finally draws that tag he's been after for 5+ years.
Yep.
if you're going to put all your money and effort into that, find the bow that's going to work the best in that situation that you can use all around. If that's a short axle, great. If it's a turbo, phenomenal. But you also have the ultraline you can do that with. I went to the Alpha this year. I shot a short axle. My draw length puts me on the top side of the number 2 cam. So I was shooting 75 pounds at a 28 and a just over, so like 28 and an eighth, 28 and a quarter inch
Same
draw.
here, that's what I am.
430 grain arrow, and I'm shooting 302, 303 feet per second.
Goodness.
Because I'm utilizing the top of that cam. I'm getting all of the stored energy. I'm utilizing the entire movement of that cam in that draw cycle. And that bull didn't even know I hit him this year.
Wow.
Nice.
So
What are y'all's main differences between y'all's target bows and your hunting bows?
mass weight, axle to axle. We actually have a different limb angle, and then we have 2 completely separate cams on that. Most of our target shooters want a more aggressive cam. So on the hunting side, when we're talking, 85 and 80% let off, which is a higher number, the target guys are wanting 65, 70. Very few of them are reaching above into that 75, 80%. The reason for that is a lot of target shooting, especially when you're talking field, 3D, FIDA, and those kind of events are done outdoors. You never know what kind of weather's going to hit us. We could be 20, 25 mile an hour winds gusting to 30 plus. We could be raining. Who knows what we're going to get into. So the more holding weight I have, the more mass weight I can add on my bow, and now it becomes physics. It takes a greater outside force to enact on an object to move it. So if I'm holding 20 plus pounds at my draw weight, and I have in my stabilizers, I've added 2 plus pounds onto my rig that I'm starting with at 5 pounds, I've got a very heavy setup, so it takes a lot of energy or a lot of twitch from me to move that bow. So on the hunting side, we're typically lighter, we're drawing more weight, we have a higher let off, so we're holding less weight because we might need to hold for 2 minutes while that animal decides it's safe, I can step out. On the target side, everything is heavier, holding more weight because we want our shot to break potentially quicker depending on the environmental conditions.
Okay.
So
Yeah, there's no waiting. The shot's ready when you get ready to shoot.
Yep, that's right. And we just came off of the Vegas World Archery Festival last week. Almost 4,000 archers from across the world competing at 20 yards indoors. When you watch those guys shoot, it's very methodical. It's very structured. You get 2 minutes to shoot 3 arrows. As soon as that bell whistle goes, draw, anchor, about 10 seconds, that shot's gonna break. You sit there, you relax, you calm down about 30 seconds, you do the next one. And that shot sequence on most guys is 10 to 15 seconds from the minute they clip on with their release to draw until that shot is executed.
That's very interesting.
So
If you were wanting to get into the target, what would be the best way to get into the target shooting?
look into your local shop or your local indoor range and look into some leagues.
Okay.
Most of those you can do with your hunting rig. You'll probably want to turn it down to 60 pounds because you'll be talking shooting 45 to 60 arrows in a night. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't shoot enough to be physically in what we call shooting shape to pull 70 pounds for that long. Turn it down. Really work on aiming and holding at 60 pounds and then build back up.
It's just accuracy more than it is.
Exactly. And a lot of hunters, when they get into leagues and shooting paper, it's because I want something to do. I need to practice my shot. I want to shoot year round.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, but if I have 2 or 3 feet of snow on the ground because I'm in Wisconsin and it is 0 or below for 3 months solid, I don't want to do that outside.
No.
Yeah.
So go inside, work on your shooting, work on your form and your technique, and work on your hold. Work on the ability to physically pick a spot and aim and execute a shot. I guarantee you, when you go out and you start shooting 3Ds that summer, or when that buck steps into your window that you've been after for 3 years, you're gonna be a whole lot calmer. It's gonna be a whole lot easier to pick that one tuft of hair you want to hit, especially when your heart starts pounding.
Is there any kind of physical exercise to prepare for archery shooting? I mean,
I like doing a lot of banded work, especially when I go on an elk hunt. If I get right out of a tent cold and I start hunting right away, I'm not doing anything to warm up. I actually take a TheraBand with me, and as I'm cooking my water for my oatmeal in the morning, I'll just sit there with a band and do some banded pull aparts or do some overhead pulls. You can wrap it around your hand and actually do some draw execution just to warm your shoulder muscles and ligaments up. I've got a real big issue when I sleep at night that I like to go to a side, and when I've got all my weight driving down into the ground because I've got an air pad, I wake up, I'm really, really stiff. Getting up and just doing some real light warm pulls helps a whole lot from having your shoulder lock up when that animal steps in on you.
What about in preparation, even outside, not even just like morning of the hunt or anything, but just you're, getting ready for bow season, outside of drawing back and holding and shooting? Is there any other things?
I'm a big gym guy, so I like going to the gym and just working on interval training. One, get my heart rate up and bringing it down. Basically simulating chasing after a herd or sitting in a stand all day cold, and all of a sudden, crunch, you hear that first leaf break. Okay, he's right there. Now your heart rate's elevated, just like that. Get your heart rate elevated, work on calming it down, and just doing intervals of that. And then I like to shoot every single day. It might only be 15 arrows, but every single day I'm going to put something down range, because
that's your workout.
Yeah, and my muscle memory is there. If you go long stints without shooting, it can feel like you're fresh out of a box, like you've never done it before. It's like riding a bike. If you do it a little bit every day or consistently enough, your body always remembers, okay, this is what it's supposed to feel like. It's no different from archery or any kind of other shooting. If you do a little bit all the time, you don't need to do a lot at the last minute to make up for it.
Absolutely.
So
It's really cool.
Yep.
I mean, these are really top end. They
Heck
really
of a
look
product, man.
No.
great product.
thank you guys, appreciate it. So
Well, man, so what about do you have any pro staff and stuff that do a lot of big game hunting, like brown bear and African? I mean,
big time. We've got guys going to Kodiak and hunting inland and coastal grizzlies, all kinds of sheep hunt, elk hunt every year. I've got one guy that has basically taken everything in North America, and I think he's got the slam twice with his bow. Wow. So he focuses everything on overseas now. He wants to go do, the Kazakhstan and Tajikistan sheep hunts, and he wants to go hunt the unknown species. So
what's the difference? What would you do different to set up a brown bear bow compared to an elk bow? I mean, would they be roughly the same?
They would be for me. The big difference is there, in my opinion, is with an elk hunt, the shot distance is probably going to be a little bit further than what the brown hunt is going to be. So I would probably pull less weight on the brown bear hunt just because of the proximity to the animal. I don't want to get caught in movement, so I'm probably going to pull between 68 and 72 pounds versus 75 to 80 on the elk hunt. Fixed blade broadhead, I'm going to run about 430 plus. A lot of that will be guide or outfitter dependent. Sometimes they have a restriction on you need to shoot this much draw weight, you need to shoot this much arrow weight. Broadheads have to be fixed blades. They'll have requirements based on experiences that they have had, both positive and negative. So check out those first. But my elk to a brown bear hunt like that would be very, very close. Gotcha. Plus or minus 5 pounds. I'll probably shoot a little bit heavier arrow weight for that one, but I would use the same broadhead I use for elk that I do on that. Yep.
Nice. I mean, it's just amazing that these guys go in on these bears and the sheep and all of it. I mean, it's just amazing the dedication they have and the accuracy that now these bows can do allow them to do it.
It's incredible, and you see guys shooting his bows, whether it's a short axle or a long axle. They're so capable these days, especially when you shoot just a little bit of how far can I push the range of my sight? So many guys are going to a movable sight, whether that's a single pin with a smaller housing or some fixed pins with a little bit larger housing to accommodate for that. But they're all dialers. So, okay, I hit it with my rangefinder. It's 102. I have a pin for that. I sight in, I've got a sight tape. I'm gonna put my indicator at 102 and I'm gonna shoot a group there. So, and years ago, probably 20 plus at this point, there was a writer by the name of Bill Krenz. Worked for a bunch of different companies in the industry, started his own publication in Colorado Springs, and he wrote an article called Double Distance Practice. And the unique thing about that is it applies to every archer hunting any type of game. The limitation is on yourself as an archer. What do your ethics or what are your capabilities? If you're a whitetail guy hunting super thick, hard timber, and you know your max shot distance that you've got lanes cut for is 30 yards, that's great. You know your limitations, whether physical or environmental. But when you step into your front yard, don't shoot at 30, shoot at 60. Because if you can take an 8-inch group and shoot all summer and take that 8-inch group at 60 to a 4-inch group at 60, what are you capable of at half that distance at 30 yards?
Yeah.
So with the Western guys, we can shoot farther. We have bigger open stances, bigger game in general when we're hunting elk versus, say, a whitetail deer. You've got a lot larger target. Well, if I know I'm not going to shoot an elk past 60 yards, if I have to take a follow-up shot, I've got a movable sight. If I can find 120 yards and I've got clearance, I should shoot there. Because if I'm shooting an 18-inch group to start the summer, and by the time we're done, I'm shooting an 8-inch group at 120, when I need to make that follow-up shot on an animal at 60, 4 inches,
Should be a lot of.
that animal's going to be on the ground. And if I've already got an arrow into him, arrows in the quiver don't deliver. There's no reason to have an arrow in that animal and not try to put a follow-up shot on. I don't
love
care
that
how
scenario.
far he is. So,
Yeah, it's
That's
just
awesome, too.
ethics at
Yep.
this point.
yep,
You're practicing ethics for the animal.
that's right. That's right. And
No, but that's a great point.
and honestly, I mean, we'd all agree that animal deserves it.
Oh,
If I've got an
absolutely.
arrow in him, there's no sense in not trying to put a second good shot on him.
You're absolutely correct.
So if somebody was wanting, say, maybe new to bow hunting or whatever the case may be, and they wanted to get on a shooting schedule, like you said, they're going, okay, I'm going to shoot every day. I'm going to figure this out. Is there any type of routine or method that you would recommend they go with?
I would try to split my arrows up, depending on what you can do work-wise. I would try to get up a little bit early and shoot 3 to 5 arrows first thing in the morning, go to work, come home, shoot 3 to 5, spend time with the family, do your evening routine, put kids to bed, shoot 3 to 5 more arrows. There's your 15 arrows in a day, and start small. The reason for that is if you haven't been shooting or you have a new setup, get familiar with it. Make each one of those 15 arrows count. So it's not about how far I'm shooting them, it's about how well I'm executing each one of those shots. Space them out. Cold shots help because you can really feel your body, feel your anchor point, feel how you approach the trigger and how you execute it, and then set it down, walk away. Do that for a week. And then add, if you're doing a 3 different time of day shooting like that, add 1 arrow for next week and do that for a month. And then, okay, I've got more time, I can start increasing to where you're getting in 50, 60, 70, 80 arrows a day consistently.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, don't be afraid to start slow. So,
And work
'cause-
for accuracy. Or
Yep. Yeah. Get your form down, get your technique and your shot execution, then start putting a target up, start close, and work back. Just as we increase the number of arrows we're going to shoot in a day, we increase the distance as we get more proficient. So don't try to rush things. That's where animals get wounded, they don't get recovered, bad things start happening. Take the time. So we can take any archer with good instruction from a pro shop and the right shooting regimen, we can make them proficient in less than 6 weeks to where, I want to hunt this season, but I don't have time because we're so close. I can get it done. You might only be comfortable shooting at 20 yards, but we'll make you the best archer at 20 yards that there's ever been. So.
So what do you make the quivers, releases? You have all that?
So with our accessory line, on the Hoyt side, we have 2 different stabilizers. We have our Pro Series, which is a 5.5 and an 8-inch. It's a machined aluminum body with a bunch of Navcom rubber dampeners for hand shock and vibration reduction. And then we have our Pro Stack, which is in a 6 or an 8-inch. It's a carbon tube that has the weight on the end of it. So it changes the harmonic resonance and the balance point of your bow.
Yep.
And then we have 2 different quiver designs. We have a 2-piece, which is a direct mount in a 4 and a 6 arrow. And then we have a quick disconnect called a shorty in a 4 and a 6. So the shorty on that quick disconnect is an upper bracket mount. It's got 6 inches of connection from the hood to your gripper. So you've got a little bit more arrow out hanging down, because most guys that get that are going to get into a tree stand, or if they're on that spot and stock situation with an elk, as soon as they're ready, it's off and it's down at the ground next to their feet, or it's hanging next to them.
Right.
So they're taking surface area and weight off their bow for balance. And then we don't do sights anymore. There's just so many companies specializing in that that we really want them to focus on what they're doing, and we can focus on the engineering of the bows. We do partner with QAD. So both of these rests, if you look, the Axius has an integrated dovetail system here.
Yeah.
The RX4 actually has it on it. They both have an integrated dovetail system that works directly with the QAD integrate. So it's a direct mount, it's a 3-position clamp that allows for micro adjustability both vertically and horizontally, while reducing mass weight as well as surface area sticking off that bow. Typical rests have a small plate that mounts to the side of that bow, so it reduces how close I can get my arrows, therefore it changes my balance a little bit. So this is a direct mount to the rear of the bow instead of coming out to the side. So I get more in line, I can get my arrows tighter, I can help my balance point, and I reduce the overall weight of my equipment.
That makes a lot of sense.
So,
A lot of sense. So, man, it's been very educational for me.
well, that's what we're here for. That's what,
So I'm just curious, what's the rollers for? I mean,
so the rollers keep our cables in line. The inherent problem with a compound bow is to sync the cams together to keep everything in. You need essentially 3 parts. You need your shooting string, which is where we tie our D-loop and our peep sight onto. And then you need either a split yoke, which is your bus, or a control cable. It'll depend on your cam system. Or if you're a binary, you're running dual buses. So you have a split on top and a split on the bottom. We run a cam and a half, so we run a control cable, which is the solid piece, and then our split yoke or our bus system. So those link my cams together.
okay.
Because of that, all those strings want to be in line. But with broadheads and vanes, you have to pull them to the side. You can do that with either a cable slide like we use on our target bows. It's a super simple system. On a slide that as you draw, the torque pulls that back as you load the cams and the limbs, or you have a roller system. It's a free spinning, so if we were to loosen these up, they're on a sealed ball bearing system that just rolls, so it reduces torque and friction, just controls and keeps those cables out of the way of your vanes and your broadhead.
Gotcha.
So,
Very slick. Very slick. I'm just sort of, this might be a really dumb question.
no such thing in this industry.
What determines the cutouts? Is it just design, or is it?
So we always start with an aesthetic look, okay? How do we want it to look? Is there a specific flow we want to have that year? And then we start doing our prototype testing. As we go through that, we'll cut different looks, different designs, different features, different thicknesses based on how our testing protocols are going. Our biggest one being our 1500 dry fires. If a riser will not survive 1500 dry fires with Hoyt, it will never go into production.
Wow.
So if it fails at 1499, it gets scrapped. We go back to the drawing board. We evaluate, okay, where did that failure occur? We beef up, bulk up, redesign that specific area. We cut a new riser and we do it again. Once it passes that, it goes to a cycle test. 1 million cycles. If it doesn't pass at any stage of that million, okay, we know it passes this test, it doesn't pass this test. Where did it fail? What went wrong? We redesign, re-engineer, we rebuild, we retest. So we have some of the strictest testing protocols in the industry.
That's a lot of time.
And it is. Sometimes it takes us 5 years to bring a bow to market.
Wow.
Because of testing new products, new technologies, new ways of building things. Our first carbon bow launched in 2010. It started conceptual theorization and product testing in 2005.
Wow.
But
So-
really, I mean, 5 years to take that technology that nobody's built. I mean, seems like a lot, but really is.
And it went quick.
Well, yeah,
it really
it
did.
goes quick.
And then in the last, 11 years now since that bow's come out, where we've taken that technology.
Yeah.
It really is incredible.
There's no telling what's in the
So-
pipe works.
Yep.
for 5 years from now.
That's right. Looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, it's really cool. We've talked to a couple of other, manufacturers of all types, and it's just the technology that everybody in the industries are putting together.
Mm-hmm.
It's just insane.
It is a great time to be in the industry. It truly is. There's so many new products hitting the market. There's so much technology. There's so much engineering. There's so much that you can do with the materials that are now available to us. So it's a great time to be in the industry and to be a hunter in general. So
always a good time to be a hunter.
no matter what you're doing, whether you're hunting in the whitetail stands and you've always gotten cold, there is some incredible stuff out there specifically for cold weather tree stand hunting.
Yep.
So, and you look at what companies like First Light and Kuiu and Sitka are doing with their early season high country layering systems. I can go into the back country now and I can stay for 10 days and literally have 5 to 6 pieces of clothes, and I can survive in 30-degree temperatures to 100 degrees and be comfortable doing it.
Yeah, it is amazing.
So,
I mean, and you hear people say they're sticker shock at some of it, but at the end, if they really sit down and put it all out, it's so much cheaper on the long run.
Yep.
And the quality is so much better. It lasts for for years.
Yep.
It's just a great investment.
One of my favorite sayings that I've got, and I use it a lot when I was in a shop: buy once, cry once. If you come in and you have a budget because that's where you want, because you're starting, or that's what you've put aside, you go out and get manufacturing product A for $60. Shoot it for a little bit, use it for a little bit, evaluate it, save some more money. You come in a couple months later and you go to manufacturer's product B that's $100. Same thing. You test it, you evaluate it, you use it, you save up money, you do some research. Okay, time for manufacturer's product C, now it's $150. And then you go to D that's $200. If you would have done some of the research and the testing and talked to people and saved a little more up front, you could have gotten manufacturer D out of the gate and you would have saved yourself hundreds of dollars and years of headache dealing with a product that didn't end up working for you.
Yep.
So talk to friends, talk to buddies, talk to guys who've been doing this kind of thing for a long time. What do you use? Why do you use it? When has it hurt you in a situation? When has it been the greatest benefit? Evaluate it, test it, go get your hands on a lot of that. You may decide that, that's what you wanted, but as soon as you got hands on and talked to people that have used it and played with it and know what they're talking about with that specific product, it's not going to work the way you had hoped or thought it might, but this company's product will. So,
there's so many places, to get reviews, and I mean, and that's what Hunt360 does. I mean, the product reviews that hunters can leave. It's educational for everybody.
Yep. Yeah, there's so many resources out there. There's no sense anymore in going and buying sight unseen.
Yeah, I agree. Man, it's been awesome sitting here talking to you this morning.
Well, it's a pleasure, guys.
Yeah,
it's been
very
great.
educational for all of us, I think.
Absolutely.
Any other questions we got?
I don't know enough
And
to
you
ask.
covered it all. Sounds like y'all didn't miss a lick when y'all thought about any of this stuff, man.
Sure
thought
don't.
about it all.
Sure don't like to think we do. Every once in a while, engineers go, "Oh, we could have done this." It's like,
that's always the case now.
It is. But they spend so much time going over every little bit and piece. So much, one little thing. We have all brand new rubber as of, I believe, 2 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a proprietary blend that we're working with a company here in Utah with. It is so precise in our engineering and our technology and why we do what we do. We designed and engineered the string stop. Okay, it's just a rubber piece, right?
Yep.
It's a specific copolymer mold that we've designed to absorb a specific particular way. Once we had that material developed, how do we best mold it and create the best system in look and design? So we've got 2 indents on either side that help with compression of that material and impact. We also, if you look at it, we no longer have a flat surface like a lot of companies. Mm-hmm. When you have a string coming at 300 plus feet per second and making direct contact with an object, it's just like me clapping my hands. it creates sound, noise, vibration, okay? All that has to travel somewhere. Ends up in my hand. If I decelerate that string over the course of a quarter of an inch, what does that change? We went out and tested it. So our string stop is not flush and straight, it's actually pyramid shaped or pointed. So we make contact with that apex of that peak, and it reduces
Slowly.
the whole way in and absorbs that string speed and pressure during that shot sequence, so we don't get excess noise or extra vibration. Every little part of that bow has been engineered. Again,
That's nuts.
down to the rubber material and the way it's shaped and designed.
Wow.
It's impressive.
So,
That's pretty.
There's not one thing about this bow that's not impressive.
yep.
I mean, it's just the thought that goes into all this. I mean, of course, to me, like you say, you reached out, find out what people want, and you give people what they want, and you'll hit a home run.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yep. Listen to your consumers and listen to people using it on a day-to-day basis, and you can go a long ways.
What about this? This rubber?
Yep. So those are called hole shots. So the unique thing about those, it's the same rubber material, but we mold those in a perfectly round circle. So when you put them into your string and tension is loaded on it, they actually squish down. The unique thing about a string is when you come to full draw, your load transfers to your cables. So when your string is at full draw, you can actually walk up to somebody and kind of wiggle that string. The higher the let off, the more movement it'll have because it's under less tension. So as you come to full draw and you reduce load and tension on that string, those hole shots actually open back up. On the shot, as that string travels forward and your load begins to increase and tension gets back on that string, it pinches those down, canceling noise, canceling vibration, and taking the oscillation of the string, creating noise and vibration. It reduces and creates a zero effect on that.
Wow.
So
Nuts.
nifty little tools. And again, it's all to make our consumers and you guys better bow hunters, more efficient hunters, fill your freezer, take care of your families.
Bingo.
You piqued my interest.
Absolutely.
So,
Quite a bit.
have to get one in your hands.
Yeah.
Gotta do it, man.
I used to bow hunt when I was young. When I was,
Game's changed quite
Now
a
you
bit.
can bow
though.
hunt now.
Yeah.
when I was 15 years old, I mean, I remember working up, just like you were talking about, save my money. There was a local convenience store. It had a sporting goods store on this side of it.
Right.
And we went in every morning, and I saved up and bought my first bow. And my dad owned a construction company.
Okay.
And all his construction workers had them. And in the mornings before we left to go to work, we were shooting at the shop, or in the evenings we come back.
Yep.
And we'd be betting. I mean, we'd put money on the target
Yep.
and shoot at the dollar bills, and of course, we all won. I mean, it was just a lot of
In
fun.
the end, everybody broke even at some point.
And I actually shot
Yep.
my first deer with a bow
There you go.
when I was in 6th grade, I think.
Okay.
I shot my first deer with a youth bow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nuts.
Yeah, and that's and it's funny watching our journeys. You went from archery to firearms because of time and commitments there, and I went the opposite. My family started off, we were all firearms hunters. I was a competitive rifle shooter and was getting wear out with it, just shooting 50 hours a week, training for the games at the time. My brother's like, I got a bow. I fixed Dad's old one up, come shoot it. I had one in 2 months, and I was shooting that as a cross-training tool and device for my competitive firearms stuff. So,
Well, man, it was great talking to you, and glad to have you here.
No,
This
it's
has
a
been
pleasure to be
very-
here with you
Great,
guys.
man.
It's been a great show.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It's
Yeah.
a pleasure, guys. You3?
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Jeremy? Yeah. Anything you guys need, come over, see us, shoot some bows at the booth. We've got like 35 of them over there
I'm
to
gonna have
test
to come
shoot.
test
So
one out before the show ends for sure.
come test out all 3 series. I know you guys are down in Georgia, but based on draw length and what you guys are looking for out of your product, come shoot the Turbo, compare it to the Alpha and the Ultra. So longer draw lengths, different string angles, so a little bit for everybody.
All right.
So
Well, thank you, Evan.
You're welcome,
It's been
boys.
awesome, buddy.
it's a pleasure.